So next we've got Robyn White. Thanks for coming, Robyn.
Thank you.
Show us, maybe show this camera, this beautiful photo you've got here.
My beautiful girl.
Tell us about that photo.
This was taken a few months before Nicole passed away. Her happy day,
So
playing with
beautiful.
a horse at her cousin's in-laws' place. So
It's a beautiful photo.
it was one of the last things she got to enjoy before she became house-ridden. So she snuck through the COVID barriers from one of our mini lockdowns, went up to the country and had a nice day to feeling normal.
How beautiful.
Yeah, she
Beautiful
loved it.
memory. We just pop it down there. And you can have a look later at the beautiful photo here
Thank you.
of Nicole.
She's a beautiful girl.
So tell us your story. Thank you for coming, and are you feeling comfortable there?
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
So my daughter Nicole was diagnosed with synovial sarcoma in her kidney in October 2018. We were told from the start that it was incurable and very aggressive, but none of us anticipated it to be as bad as it was. Nicole's reaction to her chemo treatment was extreme and they had to modify her chemo regimen several times. After each round of chemo, she'd have emergency admissions at Royal Melbourne Hospital and or Peter Mac for complications. It seemed like her cancer had a personal vendetta against her. Several times became close to losing her. It was unbearable what she went through. As her mother, it was torture. I can't begin to imagine what it was like for her. She didn't say much, but I could see her suffering. At the end of each round of chemo, her tumours would shrink and we'd get positive signs, but a month or two later they'd be back and each time was bigger than the last. It was actually like the chemo was aggravating her cancer. Around June 2020, it became apparent that Nicole's time on earth would be short as her treatment was not having lasting results. After yet another admission and yet another chest drain, she started to ask the hard questions about her quality of life, and the answers were not what she wanted. So after consulting with her oncologist, Susie, there were not a lot of treatment options for her type of cancer. Susie said she was willing to try anything, but Nicole had had enough. She ceased treatment and started to consider voluntary assisted dying, which she only knew about because of a shared chance encounter sharing a ward with another man who was going home to take his dose. Up until then, we knew nothing. No one had discussed it because, of course, they weren't allowed to. We discussed her choices, but she'd already made up her mind. So we moved forward with the application process because once Nicole made up her mind about something, there was no changing it. That was it. The only downside to VAD in her mind was that some people might think that she was a quitter. And I can tell you now she was definitely not a quitter. Quality of life was more important to her than quantity. So by early July, we met with Val at VAD and started the process. She had a few good months where she felt normal, hence the photo. However, thanks to COVID and lockdown, she was unable to tick off too many of her bucket list items, which included seeing some of family and friends that were interstate, but we did whatever we could. In September 2020, Nicole was nearing the end and started saying her goodbyes. She had her special potion for when she was ready. However, it was difficult because she was struggling to keep anything down. Then things went downhill very quickly and virtually overnight, where am I? She could no longer drink more than a sip here and there. Therefore, her special medication was now useless. She was distraught because the only thing she had left of herself in her mind were choices. So she wanted to die on her terms. She did not want the cancer to win. So I contacted Mel at VD and she talked me through what we needed to do and put me onto the most amazing man I've ever met, who came out to see us that very same afternoon, all the way from Berwick to Sunbury, this after working a full shift at the hospital way over on the opposite side of Melbourne. He was our guardian angel. And I think Nicole and I both fell a little in love with Dr. Cam that first meeting. You see, we had to reapply for the licence to use VAD because she needed medical assistance now, not self-administered, which is just ridiculous. Dr. Cam said it could take up to 2 weeks to get the authority, and it felt like an eternity. Nicole was barely hanging on. There wasn't anything keeping her alive but her determination to do it her way. Her final day, Nicole woke early, which is something she didn't do even when she was well, and asked me 4 or 5 times if I'd heard from Dr. Cam. I promised her that the moment I knew something I would tell her. When the licence was approved, Nicole was so overjoyed and suddenly full of life. Cam came that very evening, again after working all day, and made my daughter's suffering end. Nicole would not wait another day. I'm sure she only lasted those last few weeks because she was so stubborn and she was going to do it her way no matter what. It's not right that a dying patient that has already been approved for VAD then has to reapply because their conditions changed. She'd done the work. She'd been assessed, met with doctors, advocates, done everything that was required of her, only to be blocked at the final hurdle. Her last 2 weeks of life were filled with stress and trauma because she thought she was losing her right to choose her fate, where she should have been free to cherish the time with her loved ones and say her goodbyes. There was this dread inside her that the cancer would win and take her choice away from her. That was so important to her that she beat cancer to the finish line. It was not right that VAD is treated like a dirty little secret. If not for a chance sharing of a hospital ward with a stranger, she would never have known that to be an option. We need to change both of these scenarios. Nicole, my daughter, beautiful daughter, died peacefully on November 10. November 10, 2020, surrounded by a beloved family and our hero, Dr. Cam. My daughter, Nicole, was 33 years young. Now, Nicole wrote down her thoughts for me to pass on to those she loved and would like to share them with you today. She said, I want people to see my death in a different light. Death doesn't always have to be a sad and negative situation. I want people to look at my death as a happy and positive thing. I was lucky and grateful enough to have time to say goodbye to people and spend a bit of time with them, and it's more than some people get. I also want people to know I am the happiest I've been in years, and I am at peace with the path I've chosen. I no longer have to suffer through the chemo and the constant uphill battle to survive. I get to live out whatever I can for however long I have, and that makes me happy. Everyone needs to understand that life is precious and to live it, making every day count. So remember, death comes in many forms. I'm one of the fortunate ones that gets to make my next decision count. I'm one of the lucky ones that gets to say my goodbyes, and I'm one of the special ones that gets to have my power back. And I have lost throughout my battle with cancer. I no longer need to fight, and I'll go with peace and happiness in my heart.
Wow. Thank you, Robyn. Wow, she was some girl, hey?
Oh, yes, she was. She was a force to be reckoned with.
I like the way there's all this, well, I don't like the way there's all this language around cancer, isn't there? You know, often battling. And
It was a horrendous battle for her.
but
I know
her
everyone's different.
Her take on it was that she wanted to win this way.
Oh,
as
definitely.
opposed to continue with treatments that she was really not tolerating, and she'd had enough.
She had had enough. She did everything that they asked her to do and a bit more. But the treatment for her type of cancer is very limited. It's a very rare cancer. And she didn't want to be a pincushion to try all these drugs just for the sake of it and feel lousy until she died. So she thought she'd have a few good months and then she'd take her medicine and go.
So I think the crucial factor, the thing that factored in was at some point she was only able to sip, and that you needed to find your guardian angel in Dr. Cam.
Yeah, I don't know where we would have been without him. I would have felt like a failure if I couldn't have solved that issue for her.
Followed through.
That was my job, to clear the way for her to do the things she wanted. She made the decisions and I made them happen. That was my role.
So really, you really helped her with her wishes, which was essentially, the right to choose her own fate.
The first day she spoke to me, well, after she was discharged from the hospital, after sharing that ward, she said, "Mum, what was the other guy talking about?" And I told her, 'cause up until then it hadn't really clicked in my brain either. And I could see the cogs going. And then once she got to the end of the the treatment, that she could no longer have that drug anymore, she said to Susie, "Is there any other things that, good for this cancer?" And when she was told no, she goes, "Oh, then that's it, I'm going to stop. I'm not doing this anymore. I'll make the most of what I've got while I can."
I think, ultimately she wanted to win, and she wasn't a quitter.
No, she did win and she didn't quit. She fought every inch of the way. Like some of the first time she had her first round of chemo, she nearly died. They said that she was probably within minutes of dying if we hadn't got her to the hospital when we did. And as it was, I forced her to go, because she said, "No, everyone gets sick when they have chemo," but hers was just ridiculous. It's horrendous. But it's like, once you've been granted the right to use VAD, you shouldn't have to reapply. You've been assessed that you need it. Nicole, I think too, maybe a day or two earlier she may have done it, but because she couldn't keep things down, she was worried if she took the medicine and then vomited. Because she did ask a few times, "How much of it do I have to take that will work?" And she didn't want to be left in a vegetative state or anything like that. She was very, very clear about that. That if she was on life support, she didn't want that. Hence the VAD. Thank God for VAD and Dr. Cam, because I don't know what I would have done.
And she's written a little note that was really wonderful that you were able to share with everyone here today, a little note that talked about how she felt herself.
Yeah.
Bringing her voice into this story was absolutely wonderful and very precious. What does a person like you feel coming to an event like this, sharing such a personal story?
I want to do anything I can to make it easier for the next people. I wouldn't wish the journey we went through on my worst enemy. And we shouldn't be putting blocks. I understand there's got to be checks and balances, but we shouldn't be putting unnecessary hurdles in front of people. It should be talked about. Medical people should be able to say, there is this option. I'm not saying that you should take it, but there is this option. We need more doctors. I also live in the country now, and it's almost, you can't even see a GP, let alone a specialist. I've got to book 6 weeks in advance for a medical appointment with my GP. We need more access to that sort of stuff statewide, not just in Melbourne. People in the country, as we heard, people in the country die too.
Thanks for sharing your story today, Robyn. You were very brave. We really appreciate it.
Sorry for the tears.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.